Hey, we're Mug World Entertainment, and Jason Momoa is talking about the DC future for Lobo and what a solo outing could be. And you see it there, it says why it needs to be R-rated. Apparently, that's his one condition for doing a solo Lobo movie. Try and say that 3 times really fast. He wants it to be R-rated. Makes sense, but at the same time, if you've been pushing for decades at this stage to play this character, you're finally playing it in Supergirl. Yeah, it's a cameo. You're trying to hold them to ransom for moving forward with it by saying it needs to be R-rated. It's like, Jason, know your place, dude. Like, you've been pushing to play this character forever, and now that you're finally getting the chance to play him, you're already going to start squandering it by going, these are my conditions to move forward with the character. It's like, dude, what are you doing? So, we'll take a look at the article that talks about it, but realistically, we're going to have to wait and see what people's reactions are to him as Lobo. Because there's a very high possibility that people just walk out of Supergirl, for however many people end up actually going to see it, and go, well, Jason Momoa's Lobo, it was like watching Aquaman just in makeup. That could be what people... And then, of course, the normies are probably going to get confused as fucking anything when they see it and kind of go, wait a minute, Jason Momoa, he's not Aquaman? Who's this then? Wait, is he still Aquaman? It's going to be really weird. But let's have a look at this whole thing about the solo idea for Lobo to move forward. Good God, why does everything almost rhyme? So after spending the better part of a decade playing the DCEU's Aquaman, Justice League star Jason Momoa will finally take on his dream role in Supergirl as Lobo. The bounty hunter's inclusion is a little surprising, as he wasn't in the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic book that inspired the movie. However, in a bid to increase interest in the female-led superhero movie, which are a notoriously tough sell outside the odd exception, DC showed... It's about time you actually start noticing that, you weirdos. DC Studios has added a character to the mix with major spin-off potential. Now, let's just break that part down first straight away, because you see the article actually says, like, they're notoriously tough to sell for female-led superhero movies. They're not actually that tough to sell, providing you're selling it to the right market, which is the comic book fans. Don't focus solely on the female fans, and that's the problem. That's where they fall apart, is when you focus solely on the female fans, when in reality the women didn't buy the comic books. The men bought the comic books. The biggest purchaser of Supergirl comic books, men. The Wonder Woman, same thing, men. Yeah, a few women here and there bought the stuff, but the majority of the fan base for these things are men. So when you take it away and go, okay, it's a female-led superhero, what do we do? I know, it's clearly for girls, so let's focus on girls. That's where you fall apart. If you focused for the actual fan base, the complete fan base, it could really work. Just look at Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was not focused solely on women. It was focused for everyone. And that's why that movie worked. Then, to say they added the character for, like, to increase interest. The issue you have there is nobody outside die-hard comic book fans even know who Lobo is. So, putting his poster out there, here, there, and everywhere, the majority of normies are looking at it going, who the fuck is Lobo? What is Lobo? You know? So, you're not really increasing interest with the character outside of hardcore comic book fans. So, yeah. So, Momoa's DCU future hasn't been confirmed, but well, in saying that, just before I go on, he is supposedly in Man of Tomorrow. Apparently he's been spotted in Atlanta as well, where Millie Alcock was seen. We know she's in Man of Tomorrow. And Momoa did, I don't know whether it's in here or anything, I suppose we'll find out, but he did say Lobo has or will face off against Superman. So that kind of sounds like, yeah, he's probably going to have a brief stint anyway in Man of Tomorrow. This continues saying, but the actor already has one eye on what's next. In an interview with comicbook.com, the actor confirmed that something is in the works for the Scourge of the Cosmos. Isn't it? Of the Cosmos. It's just going to take time. That's one thing none of yous actually have. James Gunn doesn't have it, and Momoa doesn't have it because Momoa's getting older, but Gunn doesn't have it, and the DCU doesn't have it, because if all these things fail, you're done. So Momoa told the site, I have asked, and they do have some plans. If I'm allowed to release anything, I would just probably say that much. Aquaman, you know, came out with a little splash of him in Batman vs Superman. Justice League was pretty big, and then Aquaman. So I think it'll be a slow release. We'll see where he fits, and then it would be amazing to do our own solo movie. But the audience really has to, like, love him and want to be there. Which, yeah, and again, how do you frame that if Supergirl bombs? Because you're going to look at it and go, well, what was it? Did they not want Jason Momoa as Lobo? Blah, blah, blah. All that type of stuff. Him's kind of trying to compare the rollout for Lobo to Aquaman's rollout is a bit weird because they're very different. And then you can't overlook the fact that Aquaman, for reasons best known to itself, made $1 billion. So, yeah, would a Lobo movie make $1 billion? Especially if it's an R-rated movie. So, if we do get a solo outing for Lobo, Momoa hopes it will embrace the character's adult nature on the page with an R rating. DC Studios will release its first R-rated movie this October with Clayface. It took Marvel Studios 16 years before Deadpool and Wolverine, so the odds are in the former Aquaman's favour. Okay, there's a few things to actually break down with that one. Like, yeah, it would. They're saying, like, DC's first R-rated movie. No, it wouldn't be. Clayface is not the first R-rated DC movie. There has been other ones that were R-rated that came out. The original Batman, when it came out, I don't know about in the US, but over here it was a 15s, which is an R-rated. So it's definitely not the first DC R-rated movie. Plus, even though they're animated movies, they have released R-rated animated movies. So that's kind of wrong. As for them saying Marvel took 16 years to release an R-rated movie, yeah, but that movie was already in kind of being written after they purchased Fox. So it's not like they themselves went, well, we're just going to officially now make an R-rated. No, you brought over an R-rated property that you couldn't just water down all of a sudden. So it's weird. So this is what Momoa said anyway. It has to be R-rated, but you've also got to build a fan base for that. You can't just drop that in there and expect everybody to come in. You got to watch it. You got to warm them up. I don't want to say anything yet. Okay, Jason Momoa's thought process on that makes sense. You want people to get to know the character a bit first and stuff like that. But his approach to wanting it to be R-rated is completely wrong by saying you can't just drop him in there as an R-rated movie and stuff like that, because you can't introduce the character constantly in PG-13s, have him not swear, not be super violent, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden drop him in a movie where he's going to be swearing, he's going to be super violent and stuff like that. This is the issue we have with the Punisher going to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day, is the fact that every time we've met the Punisher, he's been dropping F-bombs, he's been ultra-violent, stuff like that. And now you're going to drop him in a PG-13 movie, where it's like, how's that going to work? How's this guy who we've seen be ultra-violent, all this stuff, all of a sudden not be that? It's going to be really weird. So, I understand what he's trying to say about, like, the fans need to get to know the character first. But at the same time, if the R-rated type of version of Lobo is the character, then that is how you should be introducing him. So, it says, while Lobo becoming a reality doesn't necessarily hinge on Supergirl's success, if the movie doesn't take flight at the box office, which it won't, that won't do anything to help the main man. We'll just have to wait and see how things go later this month. However, there's already speculation about him showing up in next summer's Man of Tomorrow. Pardon me. Which is what I said that he is supposedly in Man of Tomorrow. For how much, don't know. But what he's trying to say makes sense in certain ways, and it also doesn't make sense. Like, hey, you need to learn about this character, get to know him through these movies first, and then we'll drop him into his solo movie as a big R-rated movie. It's like, that's not really going to work. I don't know if you heard that. That was the cat. So he's meowing at me. So let me know what you guys think. Number one, do you think you'll be able to differentiate Jason Momoa from Aquaman to Lobo? Because he really does kind of just play Jason Momoa at this stage. Do you think maybe he's aged out of moving forward with these types of characters? And do you think anyone will have any interest in it? And do you think it should be that we meet him in PG-13 movies and then drop him into an R-rated movie? Let me know what you think about it. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like and share and subscribe and hit that hype button, check out memberships, all that good stuff. Cheers. I'll catch you in the next one.